As the next witness, Detective Paul Zelis takes the stand. Are there echoes of O.J. as the defense asks about handling of the evidence?
So let me ask you, was it your intention that the contents of this briefcase be evaluated and analyzed by the CSI or forensic unit at the Sheriff's Department?
No.
Did you think anything about that?
No.
You were wearing gloves when you seized this item, correct?
Correct.
And you put it in a plastic bag, correct?
Correct.
You didn't think forensics was ever going to look at this?
Well, I'm sure they would.
Okay, and you were sure they would for what purpose? Look at that for fingerprints, perhaps?
Perhaps.
Okay. Do you think that would be pretty much a priority?
Possibly.
Possibly. And in 2004, March and April of 2004, in that time period, this briefcase was brought to the grand jury in Santa Barbara. Is that correct?
Correct.
And it was your understanding it had been to forensics, right, when you brought it in?
That I'm not sure of.
You're not sure. By the end of the grand jury proceeding, you came to realize that nobody had checked for fingerprints on these materials inside of Sheriff's Item 317. Isn't that correct, sir?
Yes.
That was kind of a shocker, wasn't it? It wasn't a shocker?
No, not to me.
You're kind of smiling. This, in fact, when that was learned, that's when you were sent in with gloves for the grand jury to look at the materials, so they wouldn't be picking it up and handling it. Is that right?
Correct.
However, during the course of that grand jury, the contents of this briefcase, Sheriff's Item 317, was handed to Gavin so he could look through it, see if he could identify it. Isn't that correct?
Objection. No personal knowledge, no foundation.
I think he's asking him if that happened, so I will overrule the objection.
I would not know.
So you weren't advised by the end of the grand jury proceedings that Gavin had taken the contents of this and looked through it at the request of the district attorney?
Same objection.
No.
Welcome back. Detective Paul Zelis faces more hard questioning from defense attorney Robert Sanger. Here's what the jury heard according to the courtroom transcripts.
As an investigator, when you're interviewing a witness, you're supposed to get information. You're not supposed to convey to the witness what you would like them to say, correct?
Yes.
Do you recall now, having refreshed your recollection, that Mr. Sneddon said, so, in your mind, one of the things that you're thinking is, they're doing this video that they want you guys to do, that if you ever told them the truth about being molested by him, that nobody would believe you. Remember that question?
Yes.
And then Gavin says, yeah, that they would use that and say that we're lying. That's what I think they used it for. I think that's why they told us to say all those things in the tape. They told us it was for so they could release the tape out to the media for rebuttal for what they were all saying, but I don't think they were like kind of forcing us to say those things. 99.9% of the things that they were telling us to say weren't even true. So, and then the answer ends. Was that what Mr. Sneddon said and what Gavin said in response?
Yes.
And at that point in the interview, as the investigator in the case, it was your understanding that what Gavin was saying at that point is that he was claiming he was molested before the rebuttal, and that this was the rebuttal was to cover up a molest. Is that correct?
No.
Well, that's what Mr. Sneddon was asking, wasn't it? If you ever told the truth about being molested by him, that nobody would believe you?
Yeah, Your Honor, that calls for a conclusion on the part of the witness. It's
Sustained.
All right, I got to help this out. I can do that in just a minute, though. Next, the ever-elusive timeline.
And then, immediately following that, Mr. Sneddon says, so, in your mind, one of the things you're thinking is they've done this video that they want you guys to do so that if you ever told them the truth about being molested by him, that nobody would believe you, correct?
Correct.
And then Gavin essentially adopts Mr. Sneddon's interpretation.
It was... That question asked by Mr. Sneddon was a clarification of an idea that was given to us by Gavin prior to that.
So that he was molested before the video, and the video was done in order to negate any claim that he was molested?
No.
And you understand that other times, Gavin has claimed that the molest occurred at the end of his stay at Neverland, not in early February or mid-February, correct?
Are you asking my understanding? I'm sorry. Could you repeat the question?
Well, let me clarify it, if I may. Other times, you told us July 7th. He said it was right at the end of his stay. That would have been March, correct?
Correct.